Hey, Kimmy here, still using a voice changer, and in this video I'll show you how to build a squid farm that doesn't require any spawn proofing, yet can get you up to 3000 insects an hour. A wall download, schematic, timestamps, and all useful things can be found in the description. First things first, it's actually pretty strange of me to make a mob farm. Looking at my channel, you can see that I hardly make them. Mainly because I don't really like designing them, and most types of mob farms are already covered by quote-unquote well-established designers. In my original project where to make every farm, I intended to include one of those passive hexagonal-based farms for squids. It seems simple enough, while not asking the player to drain a massive chunk of a river. However, when my boyfriend needed dark smithing from excellent color and pearls, I realized I'm really gonna need to try harder than that. But I didn't know where to start and how to make something innovative. So I did what I often do when I'm uncertain about the Minecraft thing, and I went to the Minecraft wiki to see if people have somehow missed something, some mechanic. Usually this only leads to more disappointments, but this time I actually found something. According to the wiki, squids are actually able to spawn all the way up to Y level 63 and need a block above them to be water to spawn. And with the water level of any river or ocean in Minecraft being at Y level 62, that means we should in theory be able to create two layers of artificial spawning spaces. And since squid need water above them to spawn, we can get away with having our spawning spheres be one layer submerged, as a squid cannot spawn in the upper water layer. Meaning there's basically no hidden needed. The theory ended up working. The squids can only spawn in these two lower blocks of the water columns, and it actually works pretty well, hence why I decided to share it in this video. Since mobs don't move when you're far away from them, and squids are unaffected by flowing water, the next problem was, I will actually kill the squids in this setup. However, I quickly remembered that this isn't an issue here, since squids for whatever reason will always immediately make a movement in a random direction when spawned, and when they swim out of the water column, they immediately lose all momentum and drop on the ground, on which they'll remain completely immobile. And with squids suffocating on land, all you really need is a solid surface next to the water columns. So, cool. That all works now. But how do we actually collect the insects? Unfortunately, this issue didn't fix itself like the previous one. My first idea was to use LAs, but before I remembered I probably shouldn't use them because everyone hates them, I found out why everyone hates them. Here are a few clips of what I was dealing with. As you can see, these were not gonna work. The only other thing that sort of made sense was using copper minecarts, but these came with two issues. My first prototype, I had did an issue where insects would get thrown into the water columns and float up. Though this quickly got fixed when I got this column configuration where the water flows to the sides. Next, I had to figure out how to actually move the hopper minecarts without making this farm stupidly expensive by spamming powered hills. And gosh, do I hate the process of figuring out how little powered hill crafts I could get away with. By the way, fun fact, I just found out while designing this farm that hopper minecarts actually gain drag when they fill up, which explains so much. Totally something someone who uses minecarts as much as me should know by now. Anyways, eventually I got away with only the one powered hill craft, specifically only two powered hills, to bounce the minecart off of a block. How? Well, when two minecart collides with each other, they actively try to push each other away. However, if you place both on the same hill and power them both at the same time, they'll stay inside of each other, constantly pushing each other forward, infinitely. This, as you can imagine, is very scuffed and hard to work with. Though with a little redstone in consideration, we can easily make this work consistently, only requiring the player to craft a ton of normal hills, which is an awful lot cheaper. This now makes for a collection system that can collect a bit over 95% of all items. Unfortunately, items will still rarely get stuck under these slabs house or on the outer wall, increasing the height of the outer wall and making this an awful water setup as shown here, will allow you to collect 100% of the drops. I decided not to include these upgrades because I feel like it's an awful lot of work for the little difference of around 100 extra insects an hour. You could make this though, if you're weird. One upgrade I will include and show later in this video, however, is using magma blocks instead of suffocating the squids to kill them faster. The difference in rate is mentioned in the farm overview section. Anyways, time for deco tips. So, deco tips. The segment where I try to get you to make your farms look less ugly. Like I said in the creeper farm video, it is very challenging to make a mob farm not be an eyesore, especially if you don't want to affect the rates and such. So I suggest not bothering and just building this one somewhat far away, or like just live with the eyesore, I guess. It's not like most people who watch these types of videos will care, probably. Okay, but to those boring people, let me ask you this. Why make a farm for ink or glowing if you don't actually care to decorate or anything? Like, what will you use it for? While it's pretty alright for trading, it's certainly not the best. And it's not used in any technically different blocks, nor is it the color used in the standard smooth stone, oak blanks, white glass farm palette that you are very likely all too familiar and fond of. So, what are you building this ink farm for? Oh, to get some use out of the millions of prismarine shards you have laying around again from your incredibly over-the-top Guardian farm? Yeah, no, checks out. Why did I even ask? Uh, anyways, here are a few tips to possibly make your farm not ugly. First of all, you're completely free to engage your farm, since squid can spawn in any light level, and glow squid actually need a low light level. Only thing this'll do is ever so slightly decrease the rates because you're slightly hiding the height map. Encasing the farm will allow for a lot of possibilities since you're left with just a box. You could turn it into something like a dam, or obviously a boat, or maybe even just terraform it into the surrounding terrain. Anything can work, except for the fact that there is a giant propeller sticking out of the ground, and unfortunately there is nothing you can really do about this. Unless you have a lead flare, of course, you could just have a single block up in the sky that you can fly onto. Or maybe if you do have a massive pillar, build a ridiculously stretched out building, like a tall wizard tower. I didn't include that one. Anyways, if this all sounds like too much, I totally wouldn't blame you for not decorating your farm. If you do manage to make it look cool though, please show me on Discord at GammyBlank. I'd love to see. Anyways, on to the much more informative segment, the farm overview. The farm is not directional, nor locational, and can be built from uh, a lot of versions back. See, it's quite hard to know down the earliest version, because while it does technically work in version 1.4.4, it only really makes sense to build since 1.13.1, and even after this version, it's useful as fairies. And even before 1.4.4, while it wouldn't really be able to work as is, it may be useful in some specific versions, because squids are ancient and have been significantly altered like a million times. Squids are strange creatures. So, basically, whatever it works in your version is for you to figure out. But it works in many versions, and if it does work for you in an older version, the rates might be lower or higher compared to the ones I've gotten in 1.21.4. I haven't probably mentioned this yet, but you can upgrade this farm by replacing the full blocks with magma blocks. While magma blocks are twice as fast, they are also somewhat difficult to obtain in mass. In the tutorial, I'll be using the upgraded magma block version, so it's clearer where the magma blocks would go and how many you'd need. But you should definitely consider building the cheaper version by replacing all the magma with plain full blocks. Let's all appreciate the fact that squids can suffocate on land since 1.4.4. Now, the biomes it works in, and the rates associated with them. At first, we have the obvious river biome, but also any cold or frozen ocean variant. With this setup, only squids can spawn in the farm, making it the fastest. You can expect around 3,000 insects an hour when building a platform out of magma blocks and 1,400 insects when building the platform out of full blocks. The farm could also be built in any other ocean biome. The dolphins will be able to spawn in these biomes, so the rates will be significantly lower. You can expect around 1,600 insects an hour and a measly 44 gold an hour when building the platform out of magma blocks, and 870 insects an hour when building the platform out of full blocks. And lastly, close squid. Close squids are a bit weird because they don't really follow the same spawning rules as squids, so you could technically make a similar setup for these. Still, since this setup is already somewhat simple, I included the option. You can expect around 2,700 glowing insects an hour when building the platform out of magma blocks, and 1,600 glowing insects an hour when building the platform out of full blocks. Note that these rates are gates from a farm under a flat surface on sea level. The rates will vary heavily depending on the terrain. Because close squid spawning is affected by the light level, and the magma blocks emit light, the close squid are unable to spawn in the lower water layer, which makes the rates for the full block platform and the magma platform a lot closer for close squid. Not only that, but there are way less uses for glowing, so I highly suggest just making the platform out of solid blocks, even if you do have good access to magma blocks. Anyways, onto the material list. I'll be using andesite as my building block and granite as my scaffolding block, since they're both easy to count. You can use any block you want though. Note that the blocks required might vary depending on your terrain, as in, you might need a lot less because your terrain is already level. The magma blocks could be substituted with any full block, which a previous segment for more info about that. The unusual amount of conquered scaffolding blocks are there because you will need a few blocks to clear out a bit of water inside of the farm. The amounts shown are a bit excessive though, and you likely won't need that many blocks. I do suggest bringing more buckets, like shown though. You can do that with just one, but it might be a bit tedious. Also, the tutorial will be a little different than usual, since I didn't want it to just be me placing blocks fast forwarded. It should make it a little more coherent. Anyways, good luck with the tutorial. And that's all I have to show you. Make sure to check the description. By the way, I have a lot of other videos planned, so stay tuned if you're interested. Also, if you have any ideas on how I could improve my videos, please tell me down in the comments. Any criticism is appreciated. That's it though. If you have any further questions, feel free to DM me on Discord at GameBlank. Also consider subscribing. It'll mean a lot. See ya.